Hi, everyone. Welcome. I see the numbers climbing here. Thank you all for being here. And so welcome. This is the San Diego Law Library, and we're doing the class on Lexis Advance CLE today. So thank you all for being here. We are expecting a great turnout. My name is Rianne from the San Diego Law Library, and we have Ben Weiss from Lexis, and he's going to be our speaker for today, and he's going to talk about conducting legal research using Lexis Advance. So before we get started, I would like to go over a few bits of housekeeping. So first thing, this is a CLE presentation. And for those of you that are watching it live today, you will get a certificate of attendance. And from the library, it's going to be by email once we verify everyone who's attended today. And if you are attending today's session by phone and you would like CLE certificate, please send us an email with your name and your phone number as soon as this class ends. We ask that you do this because when we pull the attendance sheet from Zoom, it only comes up with your phone number. So we just want to make sure that you do get that credit if you would like it. And also, if you are watching the recording of this video on YouTube, we unfortunately do not provide a certificate for recordings, but you can access the self-study log on the State Bar's website, and there's also going to be a link in the description box below. All right, so back to those of you who are watching live on Zoom today. This is an interactive session, so you can ask questions by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the little icon with 2 speech bubbles. We hope to get to most of the questions by the end of the presentation. So you can choose to post a question with your name or anonymously, whichever you prefer. And finally, at the end of the session, you will get a survey. So if you can, please take a minute to fill it out, and we would greatly appreciate your feedback. All right, that's all I have, and I'll turn things over to Ben.
Thank you, Rianne. I appreciate it. So hello, everyone. I am Ben. I've been with Lexis for about, I shouldn't say about, just celebrated my 5th year anniversary with Lexis. And today's session, like Rianne had said, is really to provide all of you some guidance with regards to searching on Lexis Advance, as well as just some other capabilities that you'll be able to use Lexis Advance for your legal research. As Rianne had said, Rianne's we're gonna try to keep the questions to the end. So if any of you have questions, we hopefully will have some time at the end to answer any of those questions that you may have. And I work with both firms and law schools here in the San Diego area. Now, with that being said, you will see me from time to time looking down. I may even, just to save my own sanity, may potentially just turn off my camera so we can just focus all on the product itself. But maybe, or I shouldn't say maybe, at the Q&A time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put myself back on camera so that we can make this as interactive as we can. So with that being said, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera for right now, and then I'm going to share my screen. So give me just a second. Awesome. So here we are on Lexis Advance, and what we're going to do, like I said, is kind of just go through some of the things that I think are going to be most useful for all of you to really take into account when using Lexis Advance. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is just searching on Lexis. So what's wonderful is hopefully a lot of you on this call already know that down here on the bottom of the Lexis Advance page, we have this Explore Content pod. So you can search based on the content type that you're looking for. You can explore based on federal or state jurisdiction. You can explore based on practice area. We've got some great resources for you in the international section. And we'll talk about the sources tab as well as the topics tab in just a little while. So I'm going to go back to this content tab. And what I wanted to show all of you is there are a couple of ways to go about looking for the information that you may be seeking. So actually, let's go ahead and look at federal first. So let's say, for instance, you are trying to look at all of the federal cases. What you'll be able to do is you can click on that all federal cases, and what you're going to be brought to is this advanced search page. And in this advanced search page, for those of you that are not feeling confident or proficient in your term and connector style searching, we've got some of those main connectors and commands over there on the right side. Additionally, you can just use this advanced search, putting in specific terms, whether you want all of them, any of them, an exact phrase, whether you're trying to potentially exclude any terms. And then what you can do is just put in whatever term you may be looking for, and then just hit the add button. And then that's going to add whatever terms you have selected in the term section into the search box. Now, additionally, you have this document segment / field searching capability, and you may be thinking to yourself, where do those directly relate to? So over on the right side, you have the segment examples. Hold on, didn't mean to click on that. And actually, give me 1 second. Go ahead and I'll share the full screen. So there you can see those document segments and what they sort of directly relate to. So that would be by being able to go in and look for just all of the federal cases. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the content type. And what we're going to go here is we're going to go into the treatises and guides within the secondary materials. And what this is going to allow us to do is we've got the treatises and guides nationally, we've got federal guides, and then maybe, for instance, you're just looking for those California treatises and guides. So we'll go ahead and we can select into that. Now, once you're in here, you have the capability to search across all of the various treatises, guides, and jurisprudence up here at the top. Or if you know the specific treatises, maybe you aren't practicing criminal law, or maybe you aren't practicing tort law, and you only want to look at specific treatises, guides, and jurisprudence, you have the capability right here to select the sources that you'd like to search. So maybe we want this one, maybe we want this one, maybe we want this one. Now what that's going to do is you're only going to be searching in those specific titles that you have checked off. So it really allows you, like I said, to either search across all of those titles or pick and choose which of the titles are most relevant to you. So that's being able to go in and search along those lines. Now, additionally, if you know the specific title that you are looking for, the search bar will actually populate those titles for you. So for instance, California points and authorities. So if you know that's the title that you're looking for, you can actually click directly onto the source itself. Or if you know that you're only trying to search for information within that specific title, you can hit this little magnifying glass on the right side. And now it's letting the search bar know that we're only trying to search within that specific treatise. Additionally, if you're curious what the title may potentially have, you've got this little eye to the left of the magnifying glass, and it will show you some information about who the author is, the frequency of when it's updated, as well as just a short description of the title itself. So just a couple of ways to go about doing that. Now, additionally, what we could do is we could go into the title itself. And now here you can see the table of contents for this title. Now, what else you have the capability to do is you could obviously run your search here across all of the various areas. Or if you're only trying to potentially search in the table of contents only, you have that capability to switch between searching the document as a whole or just the table of contents. What else is outstanding? I'm going to go back to the home page, is you can put in multiple titles. So California Forms of Pleading and Practice, we could go ahead and we could add that. We could go ahead and put in this Wagstaff title. And then you can actually just add in a few of those titles that may be relevant to you. So that's being able to, like I said, by putting in the specific title that you may be looking for, as well as utilizing that Explore content to find the information that you may be seeking. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention to all of you is maybe you don't know about some of the specific titles that you may be looking for on Lexis, and you're just curious to see what all of the titles you have available to you on Lexis are. In this Explore Content pod, we have this Sources tab. So we can go ahead, we can input that. If you know the specific practice area of a title that you may be looking for, so maybe we're looking for real property titles, you can input that into the search box. Or if you're just curious to see all of the various sources available to you, you can go ahead and click on this View All Sources to the left of the search box. And now we can see all of the various sources available to us. And whenever we get to a search results page, we'll have our filters on the left to then be able to narrow down our results. So we can narrow by the category of the source, we can narrow by jurisdiction, we can narrow by practice area, we can narrow by publisher, and you can do as many of those filters on the left or as few. There is no restriction to the number of filters that you utilize on any of your search result pages. So we have that sources button, like I said, then to search for, see all of the resources, and then to just search by specific jurisdiction or practice area. So that is being able to utilize that find a source to find a source. As silly as that sounds, but we're going to use the example in the definition. Now, the next thing that I wanted to quickly talk with all of you about is just running a term and connector style search. So what we are going to do is we are going to put in pregnancy or pregnant within 10 words of descrim, within 75 words of pretext or intent. Now, let me just do a quick job of explaining to you what some of those term and connectors represent. So those /10///75 is within how many words you're trying to find them connected. So we're trying to see pregnancy or pregnant within 10 words of descrim, and that exclamation point after descrim and intent are looking for the root words. So this descrim could be discriminate, discriminating, discrimination, discriminated. Intent could be intention, intended, intent. So that exclamation point, like I said, looks for the root words of the beginning of sort of what you've put in. Also, you could potentially put a star in between words. Maybe you're unsure on how it might be spelled. You can go ahead and put a star in place of where one of the letters are that you may not be sure of the spelling. So there you'll have that capability to get proficient with term and connector style searching. Additionally, if you're like, Ben, I have no idea how to do term and connector style searching, you can always do just a basic style of searching. There's also a /P, which would be looking for the same paragraph. So within like 50 to 60 words, there's also a /S, which is going to be same sentence. So that's going to be more, between 8 and 15 words. Don't quote me on those numbers, but we're just kind of going based on what a typical sentence or a typical paragraph may have as far as a word count. So there's an example of utilizing that search within the search with terms and connectors. Now, additionally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into, I want to go to an advanced search. So to get to an advanced search, what we can do is we'll click on this more options. And we're going to go to this advanced search. Now, this is going to look similar to what we saw when we were looking at our case law, the federal cases. But what you will notice is, dependent on which category of resources on Lexis you select, will determine for you what types of capabilities you'll be able to filter on over there on the right side. So maybe, for instance, we are looking for, let's think, maybe we're looking for a sample brief. What we'll have is those, like I said, these document segment fields are going to be different based on whichever category we are selecting in this content type. Now, additionally, I wanted to show all of you just a couple of other capabilities. So I'm in the cases category now again. And so, for instance, what you could do is you could do name, Roe and Wade. So that's going to be looking for the name of the title. You'll also have the capability, if you're looking for a specific judge, you could go ahead and put in that judge. You could also do a written by, and then you could also, if maybe you want to see what a certain attorney, what cases a certain attorney that you may be going up against has been a part of, you could do attorney. Now, something I want to mention to you here as well is, I know that sometimes our gut instinct is to want to put, I'm just making up a name right now, put the name into quotes. Now, I'm going to show you all a better way to go about doing that. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the first name within 2 or within 3 of the last name. So what that's going to do for us is that's going to, sorry, I didn't mean to not put in the number. That's going to take into account, maybe Paul has a middle name that he goes by from time to time. Or maybe he goes by a maiden name, or maybe has a middle initial. So if you just put the name into quotes, it may end up skipping on some of the cases where this fictitious Paul Stewart name may be included in a middle initial, or included his full middle name. So whenever you're searching for a specifically named person, it's always best to do first name within 2 or within 3 of the last name. So that's with cases in mind. And then if you're potentially trying to look for news, you could do, and let me go ahead and change this. I think I went too far past it. Sorry, everybody, give me a second. Oh, there it is. So with news, you could do headline. You could do H lead, which finds the term in the headline or the lead paragraph. You could do publication. Maybe you want to find the Wall Street Journal. You could do publication type. So maybe you're looking for a newspaper instead of a magazine. And then you could always also do section. So that's being able to use some of those various document segment searches that you may want to potentially take advantage of. I'm going to use that Lexis button to get me back to the landing page. Now, as we saw, if you know the specific citation of the case or the statute that you're looking for, you can pull it directly from the search bar. So for instance, you can put in the citation of the case, get yourself directly to it. You can also put in the section of the statute, get yourself directly to it. You could also even put in a specific section number. So maybe we wanted to just see section A of this federal statute. We can go ahead and put that at in there. But that's just a quick and easy way if you know the specific case or statute citation that you are looking for. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Ben, California has so many different code sections, and I'm not sure what each abbreviation represents. What we have for you, which is a great tool, is this Get a Doc Assistance. So if you don't see this, remember, we just click on this More Options, and here we go to the Get a Doc Assistance. So we're going to focus just on this by citation for right now. And what we're going to do is we'll select our content type. So we'll keep that statutory codes in mind. We'll select our jurisdiction of California. And now here we have how all of the various code sections in California are abbreviated. So maybe, for instance, we need that vehicle code. Now, all we have to do at this point is input the code section number that we're looking for, and then we can either get the document or we can go directly to the Shepard report. So that's being able to utilize that Get a Doc Assistance. If you aren't sure, like I said, of the abbreviation of the code section that you're looking for, but as you can see, we can really use this for so many capabilities. Bill tracking, legislative history, court rules, constitutions. You know, we've got expert witness. I'm not going to necessarily read all of those off to you, but this Get a Doc Assistance is a great way if, like I said, you know exactly what you're looking for, but you aren't sure how you would look for it by putting in, like how we saw, putting in the citation of the case or the statute. That's going to be a quick way for us to jump start that information. So now I'm going to go ahead once again. I'm going to go back to the Lexis landing page. Now, something else that I wanted to mention to all of you is if you know, you don't even necessarily need to go directly into a case or into a statute. You just want to go directly into the Shepard report. You can put Shep : into the search box, put in your citation, and then hit enter or click the magnifying glass. And that's going to take us directly into the Shepard report of this Campbell versus Acuff music case. And then we could do the same thing with a statute. So that's one way to go about getting into the Shepard report. And then also, We can get to the Shepard's report directly from the case over here on the right side. So we just click on that, Shepardize this document. And then for the statute, it's going to be in the exact same place. You'll just go directly to that Shepardize this document. So that'll be a way for you all to get into the Shepard's report. As we know, nobody wants to be Marcia Clark getting called out by Judge Ito for citing to a case or a statute that was no longer good law. So that's being able to get directly into the Shepard's report. Now, additionally, you can pull up a case or a statute by putting in the parties' names or the name of the statute. So for instance, we could put in Campbell v. Acuff. We see it in the dropdown. We click on it. It's going to take us directly into it. Also, you can put in, hold on, make sure, thought that, but we'll stick with the parties' names at least for right now. So I'm going to go back into this Campbell versus Acuff music. We'll go ahead and we'll open this up. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention to all of you is maybe you are curious to see some of the litigation documents related to your case. So to be able to see some of those, what we'll do is we'll click on the right side. And what we're going to do is we're going to expand this about this document pod over on the right side. And here we can see the cases related to it, any of the briefs related to it. And then we'll talk about some of these other capabilities in just another minute or two. So that's being able to see those documents directly related to the case or to the statute. So the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to go in and let's go back into this 42 USC 9607. Once again, we can either hit the magnifying glass or just hit enter. And that's going to take us into this statute section. Now, if you are curious to see the table of contents of where this statute may be located, over here on the left side, you can expand out the table of contents. You can see sort of where this falls under. But if you're curious to see the entire table of contents for the USCS, just click on this View Full Table of Contents. I'm going to just open this in a new tab. So now here we can see the entire table of contents directly related to the USCS. And then as we know, we could always now then search across the entire USCS, or we could do that table of contents search. So that, like I said, is really being able for us to go in and look at where this sort of falls in the code service. Now, additionally, as we all know, from time to time, we may potentially want to see the code section that was right before this or possibly right after this. So over here on the right side, you can go to the next one, or on the left side, you could go to the previous one. So if we click previous, that's now going to take us into that 9606. And this abatement actions may be directly related to that 9607 that we were just looking at. So that's being able to move between each of those code sections. Now, the next thing that we will do is, once again, we're going to use that Lexis button to get us to the home page. We can always run our search at the top, but I'm going to just do it like this. Take me back to the Lexis landing page. And now what I want to show all of you are some really powerful capabilities that we have within the case, as well as shortly after within the statute. So once again, we're going to go back to the Campbell versus Acuff case. So let's go ahead and we'll open that up. And what I want to show all of you now are some really powerful capabilities that we have within our headnotes. So below the case summary, we've got our Lexis headnotes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to this headnote 7, and I'm going to show all of you 3 additional research capabilities that you have within headnotes. So the first one are these orange pieces of paper to the left of these issues. So these are what we call topic summary reports. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that orange piece of paper. And this is a summary all related to this issue of likelihood of confusion. What these will lay out for us are the definitions, the seminal cases, the elements, the statutes, the secondary source, the burden of proof, and the standard of review. Now, not every single one of these categories is going to show up in every single one of these topic summaries, but a good amount of them will. Now, additionally, these topic summary reports always start at the federal level. I'm going to say 95 to 99% of the time, if you look over to the right, you can see what this likelihood of confusion would be with California law in mind. So then all of the citations that we see in this topic summary now are going to be with California law in mind. And like I said, we know that there was also a standard of review. So we aren't necessarily going to see every single one of those categories in every single topic summary report. And then if you're curious to see the topic index, you have the capability to jump out to that over there on the right-hand side. So those are the topic summary reports. So that's the first additional research capability I wanted to mention in Headnotes. The second one is this more like this headnote. So what this more like this headnote is actually doing for us is this is running the language within that headnote as a natural language search. So it's taking those terms and it's running it as a natural language search. And here we can see, you know, over 2,000 cases that are all sort of dealing with the issue that was mentioned within that specific headnote. And we'll talk about being able to filter down those results in just a second, as well as a capability called Ravel View, which will run a sample search in, like I said, in just a second. So that's the second research capability. The third one, and this is arguably my favorite capability, is to Shepardize the specific headnote. So we all, for the most part, know what Shepardizing does generally. We use it to confirm whether or not the case or statute is good law and whether or not we can cite to it. What we did is we filtered on the main issue that we needed from this case. And what we are looking at are 67 cases that cited to our case on that main issue that we needed from that case. So now we can look to all of that for additional guidance. Now, additionally, something else that I wanted to highlight for us while we are here is when we're looking at this result set, I want to just match some things for you. So over here on the right, we can see the level of discussion that this Andy Warhol case had related to Campbell. And we can also see which headnote issues are shared between those cases. And this discussion bar over on that right side relates to this capability over here on the left. So we can see cases that did a deep analysis of this Campbell case or cases that had just cited to the Campbell case on that specific issue. So that's being able to take advantage of that capability. So that's being able to Shepardize of that specific headnote. And then let's talk about one additional research capability that we have within our cases, and that is located in this About This document over on the right, and that is this capability called Legal Issue Trail. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Activate Passages. What that does for us is that puts a purple box around every single legal issue within the case that other cases have made reference to, even if it does not have a headnote in it. So maybe the Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit reversed and remanded is the issue we need. We click on that passage, and what we are going to be brought to in just a second is a list of 33 cases. The first two cases are the cases that the Campbell court relied on for its decision. But then these other 31 cases are cases that cited to Campbell on that issue. So we can, turn to this for those additional 31 cases. Maybe we're trying to find, another case that talks directly on that issue. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off this legal issue trail because I want to show us just a couple of other things that I think is going to be relevant while we are here. So for instance, if you wanted to put this sentence into a document that you're working on, we can highlight over it. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on this Copy Advanced. What this is going to allow us to do is tell it what citation format we want. It is in alphabetical order, and you may be thinking to yourself, Ben, where is Blue Book? So that's what labeled standard. Down here are some just things that are for yourself, whether you want the official reporter, the national reporter, whether you want it as a hyperlink, whether you want the case name underlined or italicized. Just hit apply. Scroll down. There we have that passage with the pinpoint citation. And then we can just copy and close, and then just Control V or Apple V and paste it into the document that we're working on. You can also annotate directly within the within your resources on Lexis. So we can highlight over it. We can click annotate, add this to section 2. It will then highlight for us. And then over there on the right side, we can see those notes that we had taken, for those of us that are environmentally conscious and don't necessarily want to be printing these resources off. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention to all of you is keep yourselves organized. So on Lexis, you have the capability to save to a folder, to print, to email, to download, and then to save to Dropbox. If you have not created a folder yet, you can go ahead and click Choose a Folder, which will then allow you to create a new folder. You can add any notes that you may want to potentially include. And then you can even go as far as sharing this folder with other people. Now, when you save things to folders, they'll be saved up here for up to a year. And then if you print, email, or download, Ben is not showing up at your office to get your printed copy of the Campbell versus Acuff case back. So in theory, you would have that, as long as you have access to the file. Now, you may also be thinking to yourself, if I, for some reason, forget to save something to a certain extent, you've got your history up here that saves your searches, your documents, and your Shepard's information for up to 90 days. And then if you don't see it in the first 5, just go ahead and click on that View All History. So that is within the case itself. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk with us about really quickly is Shepardizing a subsection of a statute. And then what we'll talk about is just a quick sample search. So let's go back into this 42 USC 9607. And we're looking at this statute and we see that little red symbol over here on the right side. I don't know why it's not showing up here. I'll let my team know it should be here and it should be here. But there we can see we've got that red symbol. We're thinking to ourselves, can we cite to this statute for what we need it for? Now, as a lot of us know, we don't necessarily care about the statute generally. We may only be concerned with a specific subsection of a statute. So over here on the right, we can click on this Show Signals. And there we can see the Shepard breakdown of each subsection. So maybe for our purposes, we're only concerned with subsection F. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that plus sign to the left of subsection F. And that is now taking us into the Shepard's report where we're seeing this, the case that looked at this specific subsection positively. But what I want to show all of you just how we were able to Shepardize a headnote for additional research. We can do the same thing with a statute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take off this positive filter over here on the left. And now we've got, over 100 cases that have cited to that specific subsection. So we have all of that for additional guidance. Now, one other thing I want to point out when we are looking at the Shepard's report of the statute, under this neutral category, we have this interpreted or construed by. So this US versus a SARCO is going to be a case that interprets or construes, meaning it's going to likely be doing a deep analysis of that specific subsection that's most relevant to us. Now, additionally, I know a lot of us, our gut instinct is to want to click directly on the title itself right there. But what I would suggest is click on this page number over here on the right side. And that's now taking us directly into this case where they are interpreting / construing this specific subsection. So now we can go in and we can, see what they were saying about that specific subsection. If you ever get to the bottom of the page, you can use this arrow to jump yourself back up to the top. But now let's go ahead and let's talk about just running a search. So what I'm going to do in the interest of time is I'm going to go back to my history. I'm going to go to the View All History because I'm going to go back to that pregnancy search that I don't even know if I actually ran it now that I'm thinking about it. I don't think that I actually did. No problem. All right, so we'll go back to my Lexis landing page and let's go ahead and let's put in that search. So here we go. We're going to do pregnancy or pregnant within 10 of descrim, within 75 of pretext or in 10. Now, whenever I'm searching on Lexis, I always like to do as broad of a search as possible and then use the filters to narrow my results. So my gut instinct is to not select a category nor select a jurisdiction, because what I'll be able to do now is I will be able to use this same search to look in all of the various categories where our search terms were mentioned. Now, additionally, your terms get color coded for you. So this is actually a beautiful time-saving capability. What this allows you to do is you can click in and see your terms in context even before you open up the case. So maybe you're thinking, you know what, that's not how I meant those terms. Skip that case and move on to the next one. Now, we're also probably thinking to ourselves, this is going to be way too many for any of us to get through. So what we'll do now is we'll utilize the filters on the left. So as we all remember in law school, we really only want to be citing to cases that were reported. So let's go into that publication status, click on reported. So with one quick filter over there on the left, we've been able to cut our results down by 2/3. Maybe also we only want to see cases in a certain jurisdiction. So I'm going to do the US and I'm going to do the Second Circuit. So we're getting closer, but once again, we can do more. Maybe you only want to see cases from, 2008 to recent. You can go ahead and do that. That's another filter. But like I said, you can do as many of those on the left or as few. And then if you ever put in too many filters and you're like, dang it, I went too far, I need to go back, you can X out any of those filters that you had input. Or if you want to get back to the entire result set, just go ahead and hit that clear. Now, two other things I'm going to mention really quickly in our search within results. So this is one of my favorite commands that not many people know about, and this is the at least command. So what you type is at least any number that suits your fancy. I think kind of a sweet spot's between 3 and 10. So I'm going to do 5, open parenthetical, the term I want to see at least 5 times, and then close parenthetical. So in theory, these 41 cases are going to be doing a deeper analysis or, have mentioned pretext a little bit more as opposed to it being made mention one time. It's not even in the context of how we meant it. So that's a cool and easy way to find those cases that may mention the specific term that you need for whatever research you are doing. So I'm going to take that off. Now, the second to last thing I wanted to mention to all of you is for those of us that are visual learners, when you're in your cases category, we have this feature over here on the right labeled Ravel View. So what Ravel View is doing is it's taking our top 75 results and it's displaying them graphically for us in a hierarchy from supreme to state. Remember, we didn't select a state. And then from oldest to newest, where the larger the circle, the more influential, meaning the more cases that cited to it. So if we're going based on that, we're probably starting with this Quarantino case. Now, when you click on a circle, it takes you to the case over there on the right-hand side. And then those colored lines between the cases represent the Shepard's treatment. So we can see that Morrissey followed the Quarantino case, and there's a brief snippet from Morrissey as to why it followed the Quarantino case. And if you're thinking to yourself, Ben, this is a really great capability. I hear from litigators, it's saving them anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a week when doing their litigation research by utilizing Ravel View. And if you do think that you really like that, I'm going to go back to my favorite case, this 510 US 569, and I want to show you that there is a second place where you'll find Ravel View. And that is in those headnotes, in this more like this headnote. So when we go back to that more like this headnote, we've got it right here. So now here we've got Ravel View based on the search that it ran with that Headnote 7 language. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention to all of you is you have a 24/7 phone number as well as live chat support. So if you ever need anything, you're having trouble finding something, you're just like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm not trying to spin my wheels any longer, call them. They can provide you the guidance. If anyone's like, I don't want the attorney that I'm working with to know if or how often or how many times I reached out to customer support, there's no way for them to know if, how often, or how many times you reached out. So that is that. And then one last thing I wanted to give a shout out to is the law library. You have access to a digital library. So you have over 60 titles in ebook format. And there's two ways for you to go about getting these titles. Either A, you can access the digital library when you are physically at the library, or if you are a borrower, you have borrower access, which I'll let Rianne mention in just a minute. You'll have the capability at one level to be able to take out one book at a time. And then if you're at another level, you'll be able to take out 5 books at a time. And like I said, I know there's another part of that, Rianne, that I'm going to kind of default to you. But you'll be able to get access to that from the law library page. Now I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to put myself back on camera.
Thank you so much, Ben, for that. That was wonderful. And yeah, so if anybody was interested in becoming a borrower, please feel free to go to our website, san-diego-library.org. And then you'll be able to sign up to become a new borrower. And we do have different levels. If you have any questions about signing up to become a borrower, you can email us at info@sdlawlibrary.org. So does anybody have any questions for Ben? We have a little bit of time left here. And if you have questions, you can just drop them in the Q&A.
And thanks for getting the couple of ones that had already come through.
Oh, you're welcome. So as we're waiting for some questions, Ben, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So if there's an attorney practicing in a new area of law, do you have any suggestions on how they would use Lexis to find practice guides?
So what I would definitely suggest is to go into, and thank you to the anonymous person who wrote that. Very much appreciate that. What I always suggest, and this is something that I really more keep in mind when I'm talking to law students, but I mean, this works for anybody and everybody. Treatises are arguably the best place to get yourself up to speed on a topic that you may be unfamiliar with. And something that I didn't mention that I think kind of complements what you had just asked, Rianne, is we have these practice center pages. Those are in that explore content. What these do is they aggregate for us all the various information we're going to need by jurisdiction above or by practice area down below. So for instance, maybe you are having trouble with, let's do workers' comp, for instance. Workers' comp is a unique area of the law. There's different rules, there's different judges. So it's a lot different than your standard area of the law. So these practice center pages, like I said, they aggregate this information for us. And then on the left, it goes in order of primary law above, and then secondary down below. And what is so very, very cool, if I do have any workers' comp attorneys on this call, you've got an entire section devoted to California workers' comp cases. So you can get to the WCAB decisions, you can get to the CCC decisions. We've got the Hanna, Rasp, and Ehrlich treatise titles that a lot of workers' comp attorneys find themselves utilizing. So in my opinion, that's arguably one of the best places to go if it's something that you're just like, I have no idea about this topic just yet. Treatises are really one of the best places to help yourself get up to speed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Ben.
Of course.
Does anybody else have any questions? We've got 5 minutes to go. Anyone? Let's see.
Do you want me to reopen that law library page? Is there anything else
Yeah,
yeah?
that would be great.
All right, let me go ahead and do that. So where do you want me to go from here, Rian? Or here, you know what? Let's back up. So for them to get to that page.
All right, so they would go to research
Okay.
and then databases,
Okay.
and they would scroll down to where they should see digital law library, and then
Oh, did I pass it? Hold
yeah,
on.
just down just a hair,
Oh, here.
little more.
Oh, got it.
Yep.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
And then they would just go to instructions,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Instructions.
And so then that would just provide the instructions on how to access the ebooks if they're a borrower and they want to access it from home. But when they're here at the law library, they can just click in and then they'll get automatic access to the digital library. So, did
Awesome.
anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
I
Well,
did that good. I'll
yeah,
take that. Thank you
you did
guys.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. But for those of you that are working at firms that have Lexis Access, most of the firms should have a Lexis rep that they can have to support them. So if anyone does have any questions specific to their firm, maybe check with the librarian, check with support staff. They could probably direct you to who your Lexis rep might potentially be. But otherwise, it's been my pleasure getting to work with all of you this afternoon. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get a full 45 to 50-minute session together, but I got it done. So I'm glad about that. So
Awesome. And thank you so much, Ben. And yes, thank you. Thank you.
thank you guys. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
All right. So we'll go ahead and end right now. So again, thank you, Ben, so much for a wonderful presentation. And
Of
thank
course.
you all for being here with us. And you all have a wonderful weekend.
Yes. Bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.